Hello and welcome. Close your eyes now. Let the day melt away behind you. Wherever you are, whether wrapped in blankets, curled beside a quiet window, or simply lying beneath a peaceful ceiling of shadows, I invite you to breathe slowly, in and out, in and out. Let your shoulders fall just a little heavier. Let your thoughts begin to wander gently, as if they are leaves caught in a slow breeze. You are safe. You are still. And all around you, time is beginning to dissolve into twilight. Let the hush of the evening surround you like a cloak. You might begin to notice the sound of a distant breeze, the soft creak of wooden beams above, or the imagined rustle of leaves outside your window. Tonight, I'll tell you a story as soft as worn linen, as quiet as an empty corridor, as gentle as candlelight on ancient stone. So now settle in, let go of your worries, and follow the sound of my voice. Let it lead you like a lantern through the dusk. Our story tonight begins on a hillside, cloaked in mist. It is a place where time forgets to hurry, a place of mossy stones, leaning pines, and weathered arches. Here, nestled like a secret folded in the arms of the hills, there sits an old monastery, stone-walled, ivy-clad, and still. Its windows glow with amber light, its rooftops sigh with age, and from its bell tower, at the hour of twilight, a single sound rises, low, resonant, and warm. The bell. It is not a loud bell, not anymore. Its metal has thinned with centuries of use. Its echo doesn't travel far. But those who dwell within these walls say the bell does not ring. It sings. And it sings only once a day, at dusk. The monks of St. Hilarion's Abbey live by the rhythm of silence. Their days are marked not by clocks or alarms, but by the sun, the birds, the wind, and the bell. Each morning begins with the hush of candlelight. Chilly stone floors greet the soles of bare feet. Robes are wrapped tightly, and prayers are whispered in the dim glow of dawn. But it is dusk that holds the most sacred moment. As the sun begins to fold itself behind the hills, a hush sweeps through the monastery like a silken cloth drawn across a table. The quills stop scratching, the gardens fall still, the last loaves are pulled from the oven. And then, a soft footfall climbs the spiral steps of the bell tower. One of the elder monks, always the same gentle soul, ascends slowly, his hand brushing the stone wall beside him, eyes half closed in thought or prayer. He reaches the rope. It is old, worn smooth by generations of hands, smelling faintly of wax and time. And with a reverent pull, he summons the sound. The bell sings, low, warm, rounded like a note sung by a voice deep in the chest. It floats through the courtyard, it weaves through cloisters, it threads between cypress trees and brushes the hills beyond. A call to rest, a sigh for the soul. Inside the abbey, everything softens. You might see a monk closing a heavy book made of vellum and oak. He pauses, fingertips resting gently on the cover, as if listening with his skin. Another leans over a fire, placing a blackened pot of stew beside a hearth that crackles softly, the scent of thyme and barley hanging in the air. A third brushes his hand along the vines outside the chapel window, feeling the cool leaves sigh under his touch. And all of them, everyone, know the same stillness when the bell sings. It is called Compline, the hour of rest, a sacred hush before night, the final prayer before dreams. But our story doesn't end there, because this bell, this gentle, singing bell, has a story of its own. And tonight, as you drift deeper into warmth and shadow, I'll tell you that tale. A tale buried like treasure beneath the roots of time. A tale of a gift, a promise, and a voice hidden in bronze. So now, take a deeper breath. Feel the air around you. Feel your body sink heavier into where you lay. The outside world fades further now, until it is nothing but the memory of sound. You are here now, beside the monastery walls, and the bell is about to be born. Many centuries ago, before the ivy had grown thick upon the stones, before the roof tiles had shifted with age, there came to these hills a blacksmith's apprentice. He was young, quiet, strong of arm, but gentle in soul. His name was Silas. He had traveled far, over mountains and rivers and long dusty roads, seeking a place to rest. He had no family left, no coin in his satchel, only a small hammer wrapped in linen, and a song in his head that he couldn't forget. It was a song he had heard once, in a dream, or perhaps in the wind, and when he heard it, he had known something deep and certain. This song belonged to a bell. Silas wandered the hills for many days. He followed bird trails and slept beneath olive trees, the earth cool against his skin, and the wind carrying scents of wild thyme and myrtle. At night, he would sit beside small fires and hum softly to himself, the same melody that haunted him, though he could not name it. It was neither joyful nor sad. It was something older than either, a tone that felt true. And though he couldn't explain it, he believed, deep within his bones, that this song was asking to be born, but not as words. No, as metal, forged, hollowed, hung high where it could float above rooftops and trees, calling gently to those who'd forgotten how to listen. And so he arrived one evening at the base of the hill that cradled the monastery of St. Hilarion. He didn't plan to stay. He didn't ask for food or shelter. He simply stood in the courtyard, quietly gazing at the open bell tower and the empty beam that waited silently at its summit. A monk passed by, gray-bearded and smiling softly, and paused when he saw the traveler. He asked, "Have you come for prayers?" Silas looked up once more at the tower and replied, "I've come to build something that sings." The monk tilted his head, and after a long, thoughtful silence, he simply nodded. "Then you may stay." And stay he did. Days passed, then weeks. Silas worked quietly, offering to repair the hinges on the abbey's wooden doors, to mend cracked pottery, to restore the iron gates that groaned like tired wolves in the wind. But all the while, he searched for something else. He wandered the nearby forest, collecting small bits of ore and testing them in the low fire of a makeshift forge. He watched the sunrise reflect in the old bronze bowls used in the abbey kitchens. He tapped spoons with stones, struck iron rods, listened to everything. The monks noticed. They never asked what he was doing. They simply allowed him to listen. They were, after all, men of silence. And in silence, truth finds its voice. One evening, as the sun dropped below the western ridge, Silas approached the abbot, the quiet man who led the monastery. He held in his arms a small, lumpy bundle wrapped in layers of burlap and linen. The abbot looked up from his book, his candlelight flickering across the worn lines of his face. "I'm ready," Silas whispered. The abbot blinked slowly. "To leave?" Silas shook his head. "To forge the bell." They cleared a space in the old smithy behind the orchard. The forge was rarely used, mostly for shoeing the abbey mule or repairing broken hinges. But now, Silas cleaned it with careful hands. He built the fire higher than it had risen in decades, fed it with bellows until the flames turned blue at their roots. Then he poured the molten mixture he had perfected in secret, an alloy of bronze and small traces of silver, not by tradition, but by instinct. For 7 days the mold was shaped. For 7 nights Silas kept vigil by the fire, and on the 8th, in the dark before dawn, he poured the metal. No one spoke. The monks stood in a circle nearby, their robes tucked against the cool wind. They watched the glow of the forge reflect in Silas's eyes, and though no one had heard the bell yet, not even a single note, somehow they already felt its song. When the bell cooled, Silas did not rush to hang it. He polished it in silence. Then, on the evening of the solstice, when twilight lingered like a breath, he climbed the tower, step by step, hand on stone. The monks waited below in the courtyard, bathed in the golden hush of dusk. Silas reached the beam, secured the ropes, and gently, with a prayer whispered not in Latin, but in the secret music of his spirit, he rang the bell. It did not chime. It did not clang. It sang, a single tone, low and clear, like a whisper in a cathedral, like wind over still water, like memory. It was the sound that Silas had heard in his dream, but fuller now, more real. It flowed through the stone arches. It brushed the tops of pine trees. It entered the lungs of every man below, and loosened something inside them, a knot they hadn't known was there. And all who heard it felt the same thing. Peace. Not the peace of quiet or stillness, but the peace of being seen, of being known, of being called home. From that day on, the bell was rung only once, at dusk. Its note reminded the monks of endings, of completion, of stillness earned through labor, and of the soul's deep yearning for rest. As for Silas, he stayed, but he never forged again. He tended the forge for others, taught the young how to bend iron, how to heat and quench and shape. But he never again sought to capture a song in metal. He had done what he came to do. And sometimes, when the bell rang and dusk turned the courtyard to gold, you could see him sitting on the worn steps near the chapel door. Eyes closed, hands resting on his knees, a faint smile playing on his lips. Listening. The bell still rings. Even now. Centuries have passed. The vines have grown thicker. The forest has changed. But if you listen closely, just at the edge of twilight, you might hear it. Floating on the wind, soft, low, true, calling you not to rise, but to rest, to return to the quiet corners of yourself, to remember that some hours are not meant for doing, they are meant for being. The seasons turned gently in the hills around the monastery. Winters were long, and the snow fell in soft, cottony heaps that silenced even the bravest footsteps. Chimneys smoked day and night, and the air smelled of pine and slow-cooked broth. You could hear the crackle of logs from behind the stone walls, and sometimes, if you walked close enough to the abbey doors, you might hear the distant murmur of monks reading by firelight. The bell, though frozen in winter wind, never cracked. Its tone grew even more mellow in the cold, thick like warm wool wrapped around a whisper. And in summer, the gardens bloomed like quiet hymns. Rows of lavender and rosemary scented the cloisters. The bees, humble visitors, floated lazily among the blossoms, as if moved by the same rhythm that guided the monks. Even the birds seemed to pause when the bell rang, perching for a brief moment on nearby branches, as though they too remembered its lullaby. It became a part of the land, this bell. The hills knew its note, the trees bent with its memory, and the monks, well, they never once missed the hour of Compline. For even if they were deep in thought, in prayer, or laboring in the field, when that bell rang, every heart softened. It had a way of speaking not to the ears, but to the soul. Years passed. Silas grew older. His hair, once dark like coal, turned the color of ash. His hands, strong and broad, curled slightly now with time and tenderness. He walked more slowly through the abbey halls, sometimes stopping to rest a hand on the cool stone, as if drawing strength from the walls themselves. The younger monks revered him. They called him the listener. Not because he spoke little, though he did, but because when he listened, truly listened, it felt as though he heard things others couldn't. One day, a novice named Theo asked him, "Brother Silas, how did you know how to make it sing?" Silas had smiled gently. He was kneeling by the herb garden, trimming basil. He looked up, his eyes like candlelight reflecting in still water. "It already knew how," he said. "I just helped it remember." The days grew slower for Silas. He took longer walks but shorter steps, sat more often in the chapel, eyes half closed, breathing in the incense and wax. He no longer climbed the bell tower. That duty now belonged to Brother Thomas. who rang the bell with great care and never once pulled the rope too hard. Silas listened from below, and every evening, without fail, he'd pause in his steps, close his eyes, and let the note wash over him. He would smile, and with that smile came a peace so pure it could quiet even the loudest thoughts. Eventually, the day came when Silas did not rise. The sun had just begun to stretch gold across the sky, and the monastery was still wrapped in the blue hush of early morning. When Brother Thomas knocked softly at his door, there was no answer. Inside, they found Silas lying peacefully on his small wooden bed, hands folded over his chest, a faint curl of his lips, the trace of a smile frozen like a blessing. A window was open beside him, and through it the wind moved gently, brushing the linen curtains aside like a farewell touch. The monks did not weep loudly, they prayed in silence, and when dusk fell that evening, Brother Thomas climbed the tower with trembling hands. He reached for the rope, paused, and then pulled. The bell sang, but this time there was something more, a new layer in its tone, a deeper warmth, a hint of longing, a memory embedded in metal. Some say the bell mourned him, others said no, it welcomed him. From then on, the monks believed that the bell no longer rang for them alone. They believed it rang for Silas too, that when its tone floated into the sky each dusk, it rose up the hills, through the clouds, and into the stars, calling him home again and again. A reunion sung each evening. And so the abbey continued. Seasons passed. Monks came and went. Walls were mended, roofs patched, but the bell remained, unchanged, and always singing. Generations later, travelers sometimes found their way to St. Hilarions. Not many, not often, but those who did spoke of the peace they found there. They described walking through the olive groves at dusk, feeling the hush settle around them. They remembered the sound of a single bell drifting like smoke over the hills. And they described how, for just a moment, the world paused. Time stopped ticking, breath slowed, and the silence that followed felt like a hand pressed gently to the heart. Perhaps one of those travelers is you. Perhaps tonight you too have wandered, not by path or road, but by thought and breath. And you have arrived at the monastery in your mind. You can see it, can't you? The soft stone, the long shadows, the oil lamps glowing in narrow windows, the hush of prayer, the faint aroma of rosemary bread still warm from the oven, and above it all, the tower. You may not see the bell, but you hear it. And when you do, everything else begins to fade, not into nothingness, but into peace. Let your body become that peace now. Breathe slowly. Let your arms feel heavy. Let your head rest gently. Let the world soften into dusk all around you. You are not chasing sleep. You are welcoming it, like a bell welcomes the night, one breath at a time. In, out, in, out. Let go now. Let the sound of the bell wrap around you. And know, you are safe. You are still. You are home. The stars have risen now. Over the abbey's roof, the sky has deepened into a velvet indigo. One by one, the constellations appear, quiet, unwavering, like old friends taking their seats in the choir of night. Inside the monastery, a gentle hush continues to bloom in every corner. In the scriptorium, quills rest in ink pots. Parchments lie open but untouched, their pages whispering faintly when the breeze moves through the narrow window slits. Even the hearth in the kitchen burns lower now, embers glowing like tiny suns nestled in ash. The last of the broth has been ladled into a bowl, now cooling gently beside a small wooden spoon. A single candle burns near the altar. Its flame flickers softly, but bravely, against the pull of darkness. There is no rush, only rhythm, only stillness. A young monk, Brother Lucian, moves quietly down the cloister walk. His sandals brush against the ancient stones with a hush so soft, the birds don't even stir from their nests tucked beneath the arches.
Lucian carries a small leather-bound book in one hand, its corners worn smooth from years of prayer. But tonight, he does not open it. He simply walks, letting the cool air kiss his cheeks, letting the soft scent of blooming night jasmine follow his path. He pauses at the base of the bell tower, looks up, and listens. Even though the bell has already rung for the evening, he hears it still.
The corridors are dark now, save for one lantern left burning low, its light catching the carved edge of a wooden door. Inside, rows of simple beds await, woolen blankets, folded robes, a faint scent of lavender from the sachets tucked beneath the pillows. Each monk finds his place. They say no words, no good nights are spoken. They simply enter rest, not as something to achieve, but something to allow. So now, I ask you to do the same. Let the bell that once rang over those quiet hills now ring softly inside your own breath. Let each inhale be a gathering of peace, and each exhale a letting go. You do not need to think anymore. There is nothing to solve, nothing to finish. There is only the dusk within you, gentle, vast, and full of rest. Feel it, the weight leaving your shoulders, the stillness wrapping around your ribs, the warmth beneath your chest, like a bell that sings not in metal, but in you. You are deeper now, deeper into stillness, deeper into breath, like a pebble gently sinking into a quiet pond. No rush, no splash. Just the slow, soothing descent into rest. Let the world outside grow distant. Let the walls dissolve. There are no sharp edges here, no clocks, no pressure. Only this moment. Only now. You are safe. You are held, and you are not alone. There is a room within the monastery, small, round, and rarely used. It's known among the monks as the listening room. It has no furniture, no icons, no books. Only 4 stone walls and a floor of warm clay tiles. A single window carved into the west-facing side lets the sunset in each evening, flooding the space with soft amber light. When a monk is troubled, he enters this room, not to speak, not even to pray with words, but to listen. To what? Not to voices, not even to God exactly, but to the silence beneath the noise of life, the deeper hum of being. Many have sat upon its floor, knees drawn close, hearts open. They have listened to the wind press against the window, to the birds settling in the eaves, to the creak of the stones as they warm and cool. And always, they feel something loosen inside them, a knot they couldn't untie by force, but which now melts away unnoticed. That room, like the bell, asks nothing, demands nothing. It is simply there, waiting, holding, welcoming, and you, dear listener. As your body softens and your thoughts grow quiet, you too have found your own listening room. It may not have walls of stone, but it is here, in the quiet space behind your eyes, beneath your heartbeat, between your breaths. That's where stillness lives. That's where peace lingers, always waiting to be heard. Now imagine, the monks are sleeping, the fire is low, the stars are wide awake, and high in the bell tower, the rope hangs still, waiting for the next dusk, the next call to rest. But something strange happens on this night, something small, so small it could be missed. The bell sways, just once. No wind, no footsteps, no hand on the rope. Just a gentle movement, like the bell itself remembered something, and shivered with the memory. You see, the bell has always held secrets, not loud ones, not the kind written in books, but soft ones, folded like silk within its bronze body. Each time it rang, it gathered something, a whisper, a wish, a breath released, and over the years, those moments built up, until the bell no longer needed to ring to speak. It simply was. Its silence somehow now carried the same weight as its sound. A traveler once arrived at the abbey on such a night. He was tired, lost, soaked by unexpected rain. He asked for shelter, nothing more. The monks welcomed him, of course, as they always did, gave him warm bread and a blanket, offered no questions. That night he slept in the guest room by the west wall, close to the bell tower, and sometime, long after midnight, he awoke. Not to a sound, but to a feeling, a hum inside his chest, a warmth that spread through his ribs like soft light spilling into a dark room. He rose, walked barefoot through the corridor, opened the door into the courtyard, and stood beneath the bell. It did not ring, it made no sound, but he wept, quietly, freely, and did not know why. The next morning he left without a word, but later he wrote a letter to the abbey. In it, he said only this: "Something in me that had forgotten how to breathe, remembered." The monks placed the letter in the listening room, pinned it to the wall with a small iron nail. It's still there, curling at the corners, but steady. Now let your own body become that letter. Let it soften at the edges. Curl gently into the bed or the floor or wherever you now rest. No need to be rigid. No need to hold your shape too tightly. Let yourself unfold, like parchment in candlelight, like a robe slipping from the shoulders. Let go. Let rest come to you. Inhale, slow, and exhale, even slower. The bell is quiet now, but its memory hums around you. Can you hear it? That deep, low, golden sound? It's not far. It's not distant. It's right here. A resonance inside your breath. The hush beneath your thoughts. The note that remains when everything else falls silent. Some say rest is the absence of doing. But here, in the heart of the monastery, rest is a presence. It fills the air. It curls in the corners of the stone archways. It settles on the windowsills like a soft dusting of quiet. It is a presence that listens, that waits for no grand arrival, only your stillness, your permission, your breath. Somewhere outside, the hills breathe too, low and slow. Wind ripples across the tall grasses like fingers moving across old linen. The moon spills silver across the land, and every pine needle drinks its light in silence. There is no urgency. There is no striving, only being. And in this place, this ancient, patient place, being is enough. Do you remember now the story of Silas, the blacksmith's apprentice who followed a sound, who walked not toward gold or fame, but toward a feeling? That's what you're doing now. With each slow breath, with each heavy blink, with each soft letting go, you are walking toward that same place, the still place, the quiet place, the space between the chimes. It is said that silence is not empty. Silence is full, full of waiting, full of understanding, full of voices not yet spoken. And in the monastery, silence is never lonely. It is shared, like bread, like warmth. When the monks eat together, they speak only with their eyes, their hands, the way they pass the bowl. And in that silence, something richer than speech is born, connection. So, if you are lying now in a darkened room, alone with your thoughts, know this: you are not truly alone. You are joined by the hush of the abbey halls, by the slow rhythm of monks breathing in their beds, by the bell's memory drifting across time to brush gently against your ears. You are being held by the story itself, and by all who have ever listened like you are now. There is an ancient term the monks whisper during their final prayers, pax inter spinas. It means peace among thorns, a reminder that peace does not come only when all is perfect, but often despite what is not. Even in the wild tangle of life, among worries and regrets, among tired limbs and spinning thoughts, still, there can be peace, a small flame, a steady bell, a breath that belongs only to this moment. Let this breath be yours. Let this moment be yours. There is no bell to chase now, no clock to obey, only your own stillness, only this gentle drift into sleep. You are in your own cloister now, not of stone, but of softness, Perhaps the blanket tucked near your chin is the woolen robe of a monk. Perhaps the cool air on your cheek is the night wind drifting through an open abbey window. Perhaps your pillow is a sun-warmed stone by the olive tree. Everything here is sacred, even rest, even dreams. Let the story blur at the edges now. Let the sound of my voice fade into the landscape. You are walking slower, then standing still, then resting. And somewhere, far off, the bell that once sang at dusk begins to stir again. It does not rush, it does not cry. It calls, just once. A single, low, perfect note. Gun. Let that sound ripple through your limbs, through your jaw, through your hands. Let it soften everything. It is not asking you to awaken. It is inviting you deeper, into softness, into quiet, into dreams. Inhale, exhale, once more, slow. Inhale, exhale, and now, let yourself float, not up, but down, gently, easily, as if the bell were guiding you not into sleep, but into peace. Sleep is not the end of the day. It is its final blessing. It is where all the sounds you've heard, all the thoughts you've gathered, are wrapped gently and laid to rest. So let them rest now. Let your thoughts curl beside you like sleeping birds. Let your worries fold themselves like cloaks at the end of a monk's bed. There is nothing you need to carry. The bell will keep the hour. The walls will hold the night. The breath will keep moving. And you may simply drift. There is something timeless about the hour before sleep. A kind of magic hums just beneath the surface of awareness, like the final glow of an ember before it dims, or the last golden light of sunset before night wraps the earth in velvet shadow. In that space, between waking and dreaming, you have entered the same silence the monks knew, the same breath, the same peace. It doesn't matter where you are or what time it is. This stillness is not bound by hours or maps. It is always here, waiting, just as the bell waited, just as the hills stood still, just as Silas, all those years ago, paused in the courtyard and looked up, knowing something greater than himself was calling, something wordless, something soft. You may feel your body sinking now, not in weight, but in calm, like earth after rainfall, soaking it in, holding it gently. Each part of you, your arms, your legs, your chest, has slowed, like a page turned carefully in a quiet room. Even your thoughts move differently now, not sharp, not urgent, but slow and silken, like footsteps through long grass. Now return once more in your mind to that quiet courtyard. The wind has stilled. The stone is warm from the memory of sunlight, though the sun is long gone. The stars look down like 1,000 silent monks, keeping vigil over your rest. And there, high above, is the bell. It does not need to ring tonight. Its song lives in your chest now, in your ribs, in your breath. You carry it with you. Perhaps, long ago, you too were drawn to some faint music, not a literal tune, but a pull, a longing. Maybe you didn't even know what it was, only that something in you whispered, "There is a place where you belong, and it is quiet there, and you are not broken there, and you do not need to earn anything. That place is not far, it is not lost, you are in it now." So many rush toward sleep as if it were a chore, a door that must be unlocked. But here, in this monastery of the mind, sleep arrives gently, like a candle lighting another. No noise, no flame, just glow. In this glow, you are becoming something ancient, not old, but timeless. You are the bell, waiting and still. You are the hills, curved with patience. You are the olive tree, growing without force. You are the silence itself, deep and resonant and whole. Somewhere far away, a dog may bark, a car may pass, a thought may stir. But those things are no longer close to you. They are distant pebbles on the shore, and you are floating now in a vast lake of calm, drifting, safe, soundless. The monks once believed dreams were not random. They believed dreams were letters written by the soul, unfolded slowly in the safety of night. So what message might yours write tonight? What secret might unfold in the darkness? Not to confuse you, but to remind you. Remind you that you are already whole, that you are already home. Let that idea cradle you now. Let it be your blanket. Let it be the bell's final note. No more story, no more words. Only this: a quiet hillside, an old bell, a breath that knows its rhythm, and you, at rest, whole, still, safe. Now, drift, float, dream. The monastery watches over you, and the bell. It will ring again tomorrow, but tonight, you are the silence it leaves behind. The night now lies heavy and sweet over the hills. It is the kind of darkness that soothes, not frightens. Like velvet draped across the shoulders, cool and weightless, anchoring you gently to the quiet world. All through the monastery, sleep has come. Deep, dreamless rest. Not one of escape, but one of return. The breath of the monks has settled into a shared rhythm, like waves meeting the shore. Soft, then softer, then still. Even the candle at the altar has given itself to the dark, its final curl of smoke drifting upward, vanishing like the last note of a song. High in the tower, the bell glows faintly in moonlight. It does not move, and yet it listens to the silence, to your breath, to the way peace has found you tonight. Slowly, fully, truly. That's all it's ever wanted to do. To be a companion to stillness, to mark the edge of noise and the entrance to peace. And you, listener, you have walked with it. You followed its echo down the narrow stone corridors, past rosemary-scented kitchens and warm cloisters, into stories carved by time and prayer. And now, you've arrived here, not at an ending, but at a doorway. The doorway of deep sleep, the doorway of inner calm. This story is not over, not truly, because even as the words fade, its feeling remains, woven into your breath, laid gently along your spine, tucked into the folds of your pillow. You carry the monastery now, its walls, its hills, its bell. You carry it inside you. So wherever you go, whatever noise tomorrow may bring, you will remember how this felt. This stillness, this quiet, this night. The monks believed something beautiful, that each dusk carried a promise, a sacred invitation, not to disappear, but to restore, to set down burdens, to release names and roles and noise, and to return to the simple truth that rest is not earned. It is deserved. So let go now. Whatever clings, whatever weighs, whatever hums too loudly in the corners of your mind, let it go. The bell has rung, the night has come, and all that remains is sleep. As you drift, you may feel the earth cradle you, not in metaphor, but in body. You are being held by silence, by warmth, by the story itself. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands go soft. Let the air move through you like a hymn sung in a quiet room. This is not effort. This is surrender, and you are doing beautifully. Let this final image stay with you. A hill, quiet and ancient, a tower lit by moonlight, and a bell still and silent, but full, full of every dusk it ever sang, full of every breath it ever met, full of you, your listening, your stillness, your rest. Good night, gentle traveler. Let the hush carry you now. Let your dreams rise slow, and your sleep deepen like well water, cool and clear. You are home, you are safe, you are still. And somewhere, far off, the monastery bell waits for tomorrow's dusk, ready to sing again. But tonight it sleeps too, just like you.